Good afternoon, CABE CAPSS family. How's everybody doing? How's that lunch? For those of you who were not here for the morning kickoff, my name is Matt Conway, and I have the pleasure and privilege to serve as CAPSS president and the honor of serving as the superintendent of the great city of Derby, and at the pleasure and with the authorization of my Board of Education, 7 of 9 members of which are here today, toward the back on the right. I can't thank them enough for their support, and I'm also honored to be your host for this afternoon's luncheon. If you could please join me in thanking Bertram and Moses for sponsoring today's lunch. Today with us, we have members of the State Board of Education, the Honorable Karen Dubois-Walton, Chair, the Honorable Aaron Benham, Vice Chair, the Honorable Donald Harris, the Honorable Alan Taylor, and the Honorable Kelly Marie Valares. Welcome. And from the Connecticut State Department of Education, Commissioner Charlene Russell Tucker, who we will hear from later this afternoon. Irene Parisi, Eric Scoville, Paul Casac-Leone, and Jen Mishlik. Welcome. From NSBA, Frank Henderson, President of NSBA, and Mary Broderick, past President, NSBA, past President of CABE, 2005 CABE Distinguished Service Award recipient. And our dear friend with us today, Lydia Tadone, past President, CABE, and current Director of the Northeast Regional NSBA 2015 CABE Distinguished Service Award recipient. Lydia Tadone. Devin Sheehan, Director of the Northeast Region NSBA, and Valerie Carter, Director of Operational Liaison Office of Transformation. And from CFSA, Anthony Salvatore and Francis Diafori. From CEA, Kate Diaz and Don Williams. From CASS, Sharice Miller. And from CASBO, Sharon Bruce. From Partners for Educational Leadership, Dr. Richard Lemons. From the New England School Public Relations Association, Patty Renaud. And also with us today, a dear friend, Tom Mooney, our 2000 Friend of Public Education Award recipient. At this time, I have the pleasure again of introducing John Prinz.
Thank you. I love it when somebody says it's a pleasure to introduce me. So I'm going to go off script and make sure somebody may do this anyway, but I think the staff of this hotel is exemplary in every way, at least in my experience, and I think they deserve our appreciation as well. So I'm John Prince. I'm from the Brantford Board of Education. I'm Vice President of Professional Development. I chair the committee, the convention committee, and really don't have to do a whole lot because Lisa is a master at this program. This program, again, was designed 20 years ago to recognize boards which work together effectively as teams. I also want to make sure that I mention that I have colleagues from the Brantford Board of Education who are here, and thank you for coming. Now we'll continue to recognize deserving boards and superintendents. You will see the criteria on the screens behind me. Receiving Level 2 Board of Distinction Awards today are Berlin, Bethel, Coventry, Derby, East Hartford, East Lyme, Glastonbury, and Granby. Would you please stand and be recognized? These award recipients had their award presentation and photos taken with Commissioner Russell Tucker earlier today. Additional districts earning Level 2 Board of Distinction Awards today are Montville, Old Saybrook, Thomaston, Vernon, Waterbury, Wilton, and Windsor. Would you stand and be recognized? So next year at this time, I think it would be really great if we could empty every chair in the room, because every board has received honors of distinction. If your district was in the second group just recognized, the award presentation by Commissioner Russell Tucker and photos will take place immediately after this general session in the north lobby where we registered. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, John. And just a warning, if you do see that twitch, though I have given her a heads up, Lisa, a heads up, I am going to go off script a tiny bit here, my introduction of the commissioner, but with Lisa's permission, by the way. So, our commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker, was appointed by Governor Ned Lamont as the commissioner of the State Department of Education in August of 2021. The commissioner was born in Beckford, Clarendon, Jamaica, where she attended Liberty Primary School and became a student at Clarendon College before migrating to the U.S. and initially attending St. Joe's College, which ironically I grew up right down the street from, spent many days, nights, weekends there, whether it was because my mom worked there for many, many years in the admissions office for Ann Murphy, or sledding on the hills behind it. And then she went on to enroll at Albertus Magnus. And until her appointment, she served as acting commissioner from March to August. Prior to serving as acting commissioner, she served as the deputy commissioner, a role in which she previously oversaw the educational supports and wellness priorities of the department. Served as the Chief Operating Officer and Division Chief for the department's Office of Student Supports and Organizational Effectiveness. She also served as the Associate Commissioner of Education and Bureau Chief within the department, overseeing a portfolio of programs and services. Ms. Russell Tucker has served on various state and national committees, including the Connecticut General Assembly's Committee on Children's Strategic Action Group and Chronic Absence, as president of the Connecticut Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, an expert panel member on committees of the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, and is a member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Ms. Russell Tucker previously served as adjunct faculty member at Albertus Magnus, her alumnus, as an alumnus, College of the School of New Dimensions. And in 2015, Ms. Russell Tucker was named the inaugural class of 100 Women of Color in Connecticut. In 2018, she was welcomed to the Campaign for Grade Level Readings Council of Champions, and most recently, a 2021 recipient of Mentor National's Public Service State and Local Excellence in Mentoring Award. On a personal note, Ms. Russell Tucker believes in finding and fulfilling one's life purpose. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the Commissioner of the State Department of Education, Charlene Russell Tucker.
Thank you, Matt. And I know I am in the midst of your trying to be nourished, and we know that is important. But I am so pleased to have the opportunity to join you at this year's CABE convention, and I am so thrilled with the title, Public Education, Moving Forward for All Children. Thanks to both organizations for always making time and space for the Commissioner's voice in the program, as well as providing opportunity for participants to meet our State Board of Education. You've already met our members, so I'll skip introducing them, and I so appreciate the staff that's here as well. So I'll just keep moving on so you can continue to have your meal. We have all had quite the journey over the past years, to say the very least. We have learned from each other, and importantly, we have supported one another through the toughest of times. Your work as superintendents and board members have been necessary and critical in supporting our students and our educators throughout the entire pandemic, and your efforts remain vital as we move forward for all children. With a collective focus on moving forward, we must not forget the lessons we've learned. I know you heard that this morning. I appreciate the quote, "Don't stumble over something behind you." Don't stumble over something behind you. Having been fully immersed in policy actions over the past 2 years, and in over, and I'll leave it blank, decades of public education experience in our state, through the lens of the State Department of Education, permit me to share a perspective on lessons learned that I believe will be important as we continue to move forward for all children. Looking back, one of the things and the lessons, and something that I think we need to focus on, continue to focus on, number one is to ramp up our levels of collaboration. Ramp up our levels of collaboration. Collaboration amongst yourselves, amongst levels of governments, sectors, and even across ideological lines. They're critical towards ensuring that we find common ground on behalf of our students and school staff. Results from our state assessment in 2020-21, 21-22, as well as the national NAEP assessments highlight the academic achievement still lags, and we know that pre-pandemic levels in Connecticut and across the country. These results amplify the continued sense of urgency to act comprehensively and in collaboration with all our educational partners to address the academic and, yes, non-academic needs of our students, and certainly to support the professional needs of our educators. That is really important for us. As we think about this level of collaboration, I think it's really important that we also listen and hear from students, and you'll hear that today, and community voice as often as possible. This past year, we launched in Connecticut Voice for Change initiative, first in the nation, this budget participatory process that gave our students a voice in how federal relief funding can be used in their schools. What we found when listening to our students is that they had mental and social-emotional well-being in mind. We found that students gave voice to what works for them, and they proposed very innovative and cost-effective solutions. We may be able to take a lesson there. I'd like to specifically highlight 2 projects. First, the students at Massac High School in Monroe are bringing a peer leadership program to their school through the Wingman program. And oh, by the way, did I tell you we're giving them money to do this? They could get up to $20,000. The program will promote social and emotional well-being while giving students an opportunity to become leaders in their community. Their projects aim to improve and strengthen student relationships with their peers, to ensure no one feels alone or excluded, and will also allow for students and staff to forge stronger relationships. Secondly, we have students at Enfield High School who are bringing an after-school program that we're funding on music education inclusion and social-emotional well-being in the community. The funds from their winning project will make music education accessible to all members of the school community through a partnership with United Sound, an organization that seeks to break barriers and foster social change through music. The program will also allow students to become peer leaders in their community and form strong relationships across the school. A common thread in both projects is collaboration. I believe that that is key as we move forward in working intentionally in finding more and effective ways to collaborate. That was my message in June to the U.S. Senate Help Committee when they invited us to come in and talk about education recovery. And I proudly represented Connecticut and our collaboration, and which I always refer to as the Connecticut difference, where we really work together. Doesn't mean it's lack of dissent, but we find ways to work together, common ground for the sake of our students. So the other thing that I learned, we talked about collaboration, you heard that this morning as well. I know Patrice mentioned collaboration, and Jan did also. Looking back over the years, the next lesson that I'd like to share, that we must evaluate effectiveness for sustainability. We must evaluate effectiveness for sustainability. And while this is broader than funding, I will focus on funding as we all think about this cliff, this funding cliff in mind. But I believe that the key to achieving sustainability for funding after the federal dollars run out is knowing what works and what doesn't work. To evaluate the implementation and efficacy of state and district level initiatives supported through our federal COVID funds, you should know that the department partnered with researchers across our state, public universities, private universities, to establish a research collaborative. The coordinating fiduciary is the University of Connecticut. However, researchers from public and private universities across the state are coming together to participate. The collaborative is called the Connecticut COVID-19 Education Research Collaborative, because we like long titles. And it's evaluating those state-level projects, such as our summer enrichment, or pandemic remote learning, home visitation program to improve our learner engagement and attendance, and a behavioral health pilot that we've implemented. The research teams will also be evaluating some of our local district projects. We've looked at all the ESSER plans, and we'll be evaluating projects such as high-dosage tutoring, social-emotional supports for students and staff, facilities, capital improvements, advanced course taking, etc. We will take what we learn from the work of the collaborative, and we will use it collectively to strengthen our advocacy and to compel those that are funding to fund what works. This will hopefully serve as what I have coined as a parachute that will help Connecticut's education community land safely from this cliff that we're talking about. This work in Connecticut with our collaborative has gained national attention, and we've been mentioned in an article, and the title was, Connecticut is the State to Watch for Spending Our COVID Relief Funds. So thanks to all of you, this work is happening, and we're really proud of it. Effectiveness and sustainability also means giving us feedback when something is working well for you and when something is not working well. One example, as you know, the Connecticut State Board of Education adopted 3 temporary emergency endorsements during the pandemic. After receiving your feedback from many of you, we continue to make those effective and available through this school year as well. It is also our hope that these flexibilities, as well as the department's adoption of the reciprocity for 11 states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, will help alleviate some of the pressures, and yes, I know there are pressures that you're experiencing in hiring staff. Moving forward for all our students requires us to know what's working and to produce even greater results. And finally, looking back, another lesson, and my final lesson, is to advocate with diplomacy for effective progress. An article about leadership diplomacy from the Fisher College of Business Arts states, leaders and managers across all industries are tasked with navigating difficult situations with a variety of constituents. Effectively utilizing the skills of diplomacy can help you maintain relationships and create win-win outcomes under difficult circumstances. One way to move forward in this regard is to be active participants in our state and federal government and embrace the power of positive results when engaging with our elected officials on matters of importance to your individual districts. As bill proposals make their way through the legislative process, it is critical that legislators are hearing from you directly. The department's advocacy can only go so far. We cannot speak to the specific circumstances that exist within every single district in the state. Your individual and collective voices, getting in the room, getting on the record, your advocacy on the front end will help to shape legislation before it is passed. Yes, using your best diplomatic and tactical skills can be an asset. It is our commitment to you that the department will continue to advocate for you in these spaces. However, I strongly encourage all of you to join us there as well. Please know we will continue to advocate for resources and policies to enhance your capacity to meet the needs of your students and staff. We know that a significant aspect of supporting your staff is the ability to onboard additional team members to relieve the pressure that they're working under with increased responsibilities and expectations. So as we support public education, moving forward for all children, I really want us to have a keen sense of who the all represent. In Connecticut, all represent 513,614 students across our state. 51%, or nearly 264,000, are students of color. 40.6%, or over 208,000, are eligible for free or reduced price meals. 16.7%, or over 85,000, are students with disabilities. 8.8%, or over 45,000, are English learners. That is the all. When we talk about all Connecticut students, that is the all that we're talking about. Finally, I believe if we ramp up our collaboration efforts, if we evaluate the effectiveness of our initiatives with an eye towards sustainability, and if we advocate with diplomacy and tact for effective progress, the sky is truly not the limit. Yes, you know I wouldn't end without talking about our theme for the year, that it is what we can achieve together. I really believe that for the 513,614 students in our state's public education system. Thank you so much for all you do every day for all of them. Have a great and productive rest of the conference.
Please join me in thanking Commissioner Russell Tucker once again. And the Commissioner mentioned student voice, and I know there's not a person in this room that doesn't believe in the power of student voice. The Connecticut State Legislature created the State Student Advisory Council on Education in 1998 to provide students with a voice in the laws and rules governing our schools. In the spring of each year, high school principals nominate student leaders to apply for membership in the council. A committee from the Connecticut Association of Schools screens the applications and selects its membership. Currently, council members meet several times a year at the Connecticut Association of Schools to pursue important topics and mutual interest to all stakeholders in Connecticut schools while representing the changing needs of over 500,000 students in Connecticut education. The meetings are facilitated by Sharice Miller, the Director of the Student Activities for CAPSS. Today, we are pleased to be joined by two members of this committee, Kruti Darsandia from Windsor High School, and Melinda Liu, a senior at Amity Regional High School. Today's agenda is informal, and the topics, questions, and commentary are deliberately open to spark your interest in exploring student voice on matters of importance. Welcome to both of you to the stage. If I could ask Liz to join me. Oh, you're welcome. No, thanks for being here. I'd now like to ask Leonard Lockhart from CABE to join us at the podium to facilitate our discussion.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's try this again. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a glorious moment, whether you recognize it or not. Typically, when we have the students that we pledge to serve and educate, they are typically presenting to us on a Saturday afternoon while everybody's trying to get away. But we have them prime time, front and center, during the luncheon on Friday. We could have not picked two more dynamic individuals. They spoke to us at the leadership retreat in Old Saybrook this past August, and they were so dynamic that the board of directors asked them to come and participate today. So they're going to be very candid, to the point, and I'm hoping that we listen with the third ear as they truly tell you what the students are truly thinking within the school districts. So the way this is going to work, we have a set of questions that they have been prepared for, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go in random order and give them the questions, but we're also going to allow participation back and forth to allow you to ask any follow-up points if you so desire to do so. They will not get all the questions, but what we wish to get out of this is a true dialogue from the student's perspective, so as we go back and understand what is the why of what we do as Board of Education members. What is the why that we do as superintendents? We get to understand from the perspective of the students. So that is the aim and goal. And ladies, welcome to the CABE CAPSS Convention. Make yourself at home and be as candid as you wish. All right? This is a toss-up question for any one of you. You can answer it first. Diversity in the school curriculum. What are the ways that schools can promote inclusion within the student body?
I think Melinda will be best to answer that one.
So mainly my work, and the reason why Kruti pointed to me, was because the main issue that I've been focusing on is making curriculum more inclusive, mainly for the history curriculum. And as an Asian American, I've seen discrimination, especially with the rise of the COVID pandemic, within the political stratosphere and also on the news. And it really sparked my interest because these are people that are just like me who are facing these issues, and I wanted to be part of this change. So one of the things that I've done is I've worked with a UConn professor. His name is Dr. Jason Chong, and he leads a bipartisan campaign within the Connecticut Senate that's called #Make Us Visible Connecticut. And basically what this campaign has been trying to do is to include Asian American studies within the curriculum. And actually just recently, just this past year, they have passed a bill to include a funded mandate for creating Asian American Studies curriculum within the K through 12. And I've had the honor of helping them testify in front of the Connecticut State, and it's been a real honor to be a part of this effort. And what it's really shown me is that including more people and also learning about their history is something that's really important to understanding others, because if we at least take the time to understand where their backgrounds and where their perspectives came from, we're better able to include others in our discussions and also be more open to their perspectives, even if we agree or disagree.
Trudy, would you like to follow up?
I think that was an amazing answer. And I'm honestly learning as I'm sitting here. But just to follow up on that, right? Like she was talking about understanding others and including others. And even here, including us on the table allows you to get a better perspective. But from this, I hope that everyone just takes away, like, when you go back to your districts, include the students in your schools, whether they're from K through 12, right? Because at the end of the day, like Mr. Lockhart said, your purpose, the why behind schools is to educate students. So again, including students from all different ethnicities, backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses, you're able to learn more and better serve the students and provide an environment where they want to come and learn, because that's what we want to foster for everyone.
Well, you know what? Let's piggyback on that response. Okay, clap it up. Based off your responses, how can we improve DEI initiatives for students and staff alike in schools and sports, based off the perspective you just shared?
I think a big thing with that, I was just talking to my mentor, Mr. Moore, about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's a big thing because, right, like we do DEI, we say this all the time, like diversity, equity, inclusion, but sometimes when I see it, even in companies or at schools, it's just to fulfill the requirement. Sometimes we're just doing DEI because, oh, we need to have a DEI training. But when you're doing it, go into it with intention, right? And there needs to be multiple steps to it. I think before you go into a diversity, equity, inclusion training with adults or students, right, you need to understand yourself better. Because we all have our own biases. We all have our own views on certain situations, which, again, is okay. We all have our own experiences, which shape these views. But as we go into these diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, we need to have the understanding of self, then also understanding of others, right? Social awareness. How are you being aware of the students around you and their different stories from home, their personal lives? And at the end comes that part of like, how are we gonna include everyone? Because a great example is, you can invite everyone to the event, but are you gonna include them at the table and invite them onto the dance floor, right? Because inclusion is different than having equity and having everyone on that dance floor being able to participate and enjoy the event just as much.
All right. Melinda?
So Crudy's answer, again, was amazing. She always amazes me every day. But what I really want to say is diversity, equity, inclusion is different for everybody, and you can't just slap one singular training onto everybody because every community is different. Some communities, I mean, they have faced different issues and they're made up of different types of people, and you kind of have to mold that training to the individuals that you're around. And as Crudy was saying before, that you need to learn about the students and the administrators that are present within your district and school. It's important that when you're attacking these initiatives, you go in with the focus of a local perspective of, you need to think about who are the people that you are serving and how can you best serve those people.
Well, Melinda, you brought up about administrators. What are the ways that you as students can get involved with decisions being made at the board level?
So at the board level, I do have to say that it's not as inclusive as I'd like it, but currently we do have some student representatives that serve on the board, and though they serve on the board, I think it's important for students to actually be a part of the committees, because even if students are just serving on the board and telling you about the upcoming student events, that's very important. But if they're just at those general board meetings when everybody's just reporting out, they're not actually part of the working process. And being a part of that working process is really what is needed, because if you want the student perspective, you can't just have them at those general sessions where it's just you're discussing it to the public on what's happening. They need to be able to be involved with the action. And I think for me, this is just something personal about me. I love my email. I'm on it 24/7, but the main way that I communicate with my administrators is through email. And I think many of my administrators are very open, and I have the privilege of having very supportive administrators who always answer my emails and also always encourage me and always give me advice or support whenever I need it.
All right. Trudy?
I think following up on that, she definitely hit a great point, right? Like, you have students there, but they should be doing more than just talking about the student activities going on. And building off of that, even right now, you have us here, and at your Board of Eds, you may have student reps on there, and hopefully you do if you don't right now. There's a difference between just having that student rep on there versus acting on what they have said, right? So, like, if the student gives a suggestion, don't just think of it like, oh, they gave the suggestion, we have a student rep. If you have a student rep, listen to them, include them in those conversations where sometimes it's only adults, right? If you're talking about curriculum, the students know the curriculum and they're the ones learning it, so they'll be able to give you the best perspective on it. And again, being able to understand and listening to understand. Sometimes every time that a student presents an idea to an adult, we don't listen to understand, we're gonna get defensive and try and give a response. Instead, have a conversation. And now going on to the point about my administrators, Melinda's nicer by just emailing them. I just barge into the offices. Like, I'll just walk in and they'll be like, oh, hello, you're here again. So it's honestly just going in and being persistent. For me, it's been a journey trying to advocate for what I want. Sometimes administrators don't understand where I'm coming from. They'll just be like, what is she talking about? But it's continuously going back again and again and really trying to stand up for myself, but also my peers and what we believe in. But we want to create an environment where students who are not like me and will continue to go on, they might be a little more quiet. We want them to also be able to voice their opinions too, because just Melinda and my opinion is not every student's perspective. So again, administrators creating a safe environment where they're approachable and really listen to the students to understand and build off of their ideas.
You know, both of you ladies touched on some topics in regards to mental health. And if you had your way, if you had one way, how would you implement mental health and SEL for both students and staff? If you had total power and you had one thing you could implement, what would it be and how would you do it?
Oh, I love this. This is like, SEL is my thing. I feel like I've been doing it for a year and a half with all the conversations I've had about it. And there's so much we can do with SEL. It's like you're doing it right now. All of you are sitting at the table and have had conversations with people. I saw you all networking. You were using relationship skills right there. So a big thing is creating a program. Like, I would want there to be a specific program a day that's for every single student, no matter if they are a senior to a kindergartner. Just being able to, during once a week, have a specific allotted time, maybe 1 hour, to just do something for their well-being. Being able to craft, being able to just listen to music, go on a walk, anything at all like that, because being a high schooler, a week of school is crazy. Like, I'm having the time of my life sitting here right now. This is my SEL. It's great. But previously, there's been leadership council and Elite 10 programs at the high school, which have really helped me get that time to really focus on self-growth and self-development. And being able to provide all students that is a great way for them to just continue their academic education, but also their emotional well-being. Because when students feel like they want to come to school, trust me, the academics will automatically see an increase. You'll see increase in numbers. But first you have to focus on making sure the students want to be there.
Wow. So, Crudy is amazing with everything she does, but
She's too nice.
the main thing for SEL or mental health that I'd really like to address in my school is I'd like for our school to have more opportunities for students to build their social skills. And even though that sounds a little vague, I think even in the workplace, no matter where you work, like for example, if you're an engineer, if you're an educator, you're always communicating with people and you're always using those soft skills. And within school, at least in my 8-period day, or our 6-period day in our 8 periods of classes, I don't really have the opportunity to learn how to connect with people. And the reason that I have been able to kind of open up myself, because I used to be very reserved and shy, is because of participating in other events like extracurriculars, and also being a part of the Student Equity Advisory Board that Mrs. Miller is so kind to provide for us. And I think having these events or giving students the chance during the school day to develop their social skills, whether that be practicing like talking to other people or having conversations with others that they might not be who they might not really know, is something that's really important, because in the end, no matter what profession you are, you need to talk to people and you need to be able to be a team player. And if students are able to develop these skills, they'll be successful in any field that they go into.
You know, some of your responses, I want to just drill down just a little bit more. We were just speaking about mental health, but I think I'm hearing a lot about the communication with the students and the teachers and administrators. In your opinion, from not a personal, but a overarching view, what are the ways that teachers and administrators can make students actually feel more comfortable discussing their problems?
I think this is honestly, you said an overarching view, but again, like we say, all students are different.
Yep.
But a big way to really make sure communication is welcomed is a lot of times when you create those environments for that communication. At Windsor High School, when I tell you I go to my teachers all the time, it's because they create that environment where I want to go to them. They'll be like, oh, please stop by for any questions that you have after school. And that makes students who might not want to go to them, okay? So a lot of times administrators, sometimes we never hear from them, like, oh, we want to hear your voice. And being able to create committees, like even in your Board of Eds, if there's any way for you to have small committees of students that you talk to get their perspective, or if you create opportunities for them to really participate, it will allow more students to sign up and allow more students to be involved in it. Because a lot of times when there's not an initiative for them to really be like, oh, the administrator wants to hear from me, they might not go up to them. So it's about creating those opportunities as adults so that students can have a voice.
And just to build off of that, what I think has been really important in my school, they did it last year, and it's only been last year, but I thought it was really helpful that they had like afternoon with admin sessions where it was basically the principal and the vice principal and our head counselor. They kind of had these sessions where students could go in for an hour after school, and then the principal would report on issues that they're currently dealing with, as well as issues that students brought up and kind of like what the school is doing to address it. And having these kind of like open discussions and having these like sort of like office hours has been really, I think, eye-opening for me, because one, I get to learn about what's going on within my school and within my community, and also if I've had any questions or any concerns, they're right there for me to talk to them, and they're right there for me to like open up and have that discussion. So I think having something like an office hours, or as Crudy said, like creating those environments for students to actually participate has been something that's really important for getting student voice out there.
All right, I don't see Lisa in the room. I don't know how much time we
Oh,
have.
she's right there. In the back.
All right, I'm looking to you for my cue. Give me the 5, so just in case, okay? I don't have the cattle prod on me, so. So what I would like is a toss-up question. I would like at least to have a superintendent and a board member. I'll start with any superintendent in the room that would like to ask a question to the panel.
Ooh, this is the fun part.
Is there a superintendent that wishes to ask a question of the panel? If you will do, just please stand up and state your name and your district, please.
Like a teacher would say, don't be shy.
Hey, she's Windsor strong. Anyone? Will there be one? Like they say in the church, will there be one?
Oh, right there. Melinda, would you like to start?
So I think this year, what I was just talking about, like having an afternoon with admins or having like a 1-hour session, maybe like once a month after school or in the beginning of school, that is open to all students. And I think what you can do during those sessions is kind of like talk to students who come on like what has been going on and what issues that they're working to address, and also have students be able to ask you questions like up front at that session is really important, because that creates a direct link of communication between both you and the students, because students usually don't interact with administrators as much as their teachers. And I think having those sessions will allow students who are interested to at least step up and even just listen in to what the administrators are doing.
Would you like to respond to that question,
I
Crudy?
would love to respond to that question. A big thing for me, honestly, has been SEL over my years at Windsor High School and being able to learn about SEL. So I would really encourage, instead of just trying to put something on the table for social emotional learning, really invest time into it. And again, I know the point of school is education, but maybe once a month, create a time, like if it's an hour, hour and a half, where students can really just come to that space and choose a SEL activity, whether it's a relationship building course or if it's a activity where they're building relationships with their peers or with their teachers and engaging with them in an environment outside of the classroom, right? Because I think my biggest learning moments have been when I've learned SEL skills, and that's translated to the classroom and me being able to really advocate for my education. So really creating those environments where students can focus on their mental health as well. So an hour and a half once a month is not a lot in a school year. Just maybe have different stations where they can go for one spot to go on a walk, or if they can go just read a book, right? So creating those initiatives will make students feel welcome, and that will also help them pursue their education at the highest level that they can.
So
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So just so that we can level set, I've been given the notice, 5-minute warning. So I want to keep my commitment to one board member to ask a question, and then from there, we will allow the panelists to give their final thoughts. So with that being said, is there one?
Yeah, I wasn't shy this time, guys, so put your hands down. AJ Johnson, Hartford, Connecticut, Board of Education in Hartford. My question to you is around absenteeism. A lot of our districts are seeing students not returning to school, and as we go into the Thanksgiving break, we know that there's a big drop-off in students. Is there anything from your perspective that will help us like re-energize our students to come back, or are there things that we may not see that the data is not showing us that you may be aware of in terms of why students aren't returning to school and for whatever reason it is?
Thank you for the question. We'll start with Kruti on this one.
Well, it's great to meet you. I think a big thing is you mentioned data, and data is great. Don't get me wrong. I love statistics, one of my favorite courses I've taken. But when you're thinking about students, like, you can't just focus on data. There's more than data to everything: education, classes, tardies, attendance, and absenteeism is definitely a big thing. I mean, you see it. Students, myself, sometimes we're just like, when it's break time, you're just like, break is almost here. Do I really want to go to school? And I think a lot of times this occurs because of peer influence. When you're around peers, and depending on the peer group you're in, if one person says, I'm not going to go to school this day, other students will follow along. And a lot of times this starts happening because after quarter one, that's when students start to not be that engaged in class, and you're going into material, but you're kind of not really interested in it. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to really be in those classroom environments. So absenteeism is directly correlated to the engagement in curriculum, right? If your student's engaged in the class, they're gonna show up. And if the student is wanting to show up in that environment, if they feel welcomed, if they feel that it's supplementing them, then they're gonna wanna show up. And that ties along with the initiatives around their well-being. Are you caring for them and making them want to show up to that place and show up for their teachers? Because if the teachers care for them, trust me, the students will show up to that class. In my classes, when my teachers are like, oh, how's your day going? Oh, you need extra time on that? That's okay, I understand. I 100% put in more effort in those classes, and I'm 100% more attentive in those classes than in those classes where it's just like, oh, they don't care about me. Because when you make that student feel that you care about them on a personal level, they'll be more likely to show up to that class and give you 100%.
Melinda?
As for my perspective, I feel that obviously from different socioeconomic backgrounds or different school districts, the reason for absenteeism is different. And I think for the data and looking at data, if we're looking at student data, we view students as a data point. We view them as a number, but there's a person behind that number, and there's a reason behind that number. And I think talking to students, or even calling them into your office and asking, or if someone who's chronically absent, calling them into your office and asking what's going on, or at least asking them, is there anything you're dealing with, anything you're having trouble with, and at least providing that support and kind of getting to the root cause of why they're not coming to school and the reason why they don't want to participate is something that's really important, because in the end of the day, they're a person and there's always a reason to why they're not doing what they're doing. And giving them a reason and learning why that they're not coming and giving them a purpose to come to school can help you kind of on an individual level and also on a group level consider and kind of solve this problem, because once you know why the students aren't coming, you can create strategies to help them and give them a purpose to come back to school.
All right, as promised.
Hi, Maureen Brummett, Superintendent in Newington. First of all, I echo what another person said about your unbelievable maturity and presence in this room today, and I hope this is going to be an annual event. This was a highlight. What can we do at the school level or district level to encourage students such as yourself to feel empowered to do this? Was it a pivotal moment for you? Was it a series of events for you at your school or your district? What can we do to have more students like you feeling empowered to do the good things that you're doing?
Wow, that was a very nice question. This is a question that makes me happy because I've been wanting to talk about something like this. So, first of all, big shout out to Cherise, who's sitting at this wonderful table, for giving us this opportunity. She connected us with Lisa, and again, thank you to Lisa for having us come back. So it's definitely the support systems, right? And I want to thank my mentor, Mr. Moore, for getting me connected with Cherise and getting me these opportunities. I called him. I made sure I was okay for today. I was like, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this? Calm down my nerves. And again, it's these supports that make students do this. I wouldn't be here without the support system I have. So again, schools having adults that students can count on, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a administrator, whether it's a Board of Ed member, whether it's someone who's just in the staff in the district, right? We can't do this alone, and a lot of times when people would see me or Melinda, they're just like, oh, you're great, you're so mature for your age, but we have these wonderful people supporting us and helping us get here, and that's why I'm able to do everything I do today. And again, schools just making sure that they're in tune with their students, checking in more than just a data point, and really forming that relationship with them in order to provide them with the opportunities to pursue whatever they want to, whether it's in medical field, whether it's in engineering, whether it's being a custodian, whatever it is, you want to help them and provide them with supports to pursue their education.
And just to add off of that, I'd like to just say one more time that Mrs. Miller-Odukwe, or Cherise, she's just amazing. And the
We
reason,
need a round of applause.
Yeah,
for
we
her.
need a
I'm
round.
sorry.
She has been so amazing in ever since I started, as I started just filling out the application and my first year on the board, her energy and everything she brought to that board and everything that she's done for us, giving us these opportunities, has really kept me going and kept me energized about the fields of education, because again, it's for the students, and her providing this amazing environment and these supports has really helped Crudy and I and everybody else involved with the board succeed.
And can I just say I'm matching with her today, so I'm very excited about that.
So a final question, Lisa. I know I'm landing the plane. In 90 seconds.
Oh,
What?
this is rapid fire.
This is rapid fire. What is one last thought you would like to leave with the convention?
Well, so the thing about all these conventions is there's a nice lunch, everybody's here, the hotel's really nice. But the thing is we come to these conventions because we want to change. We want to at least go to our schools and make a difference. The reason why we come to these conventions and network with others is so that we can really bring something back to our schools. So I hope that when you go back to your schools or when you go back to your boards of ed, that you actually get something out of this conference. You don't just go back energized and sit still and do everything the same. And I hope that you at least have a discussion, or at least do something that you've learned from this conference, and take this time as a productive time to kind of reflect on what can you do different and what can you improve within your schools.
Thank you very much, Belinda. Crudy?
I'm just gonna say this, I am so happy to have been able to deliver to you guys. And again, like Melinda said, go back and don't just listen to our voice. We've been talking about student voice. So get students in your district involved. They're going to be able to tell you about your district better than anyone else can, and really give them a seat on that table and listen to them to understand. Don't listen to them to respond. Listen to them to take in what they're saying, because it's important for the success of the school and the success of their education, right? So make us proud. Go back and really include student voice at that table.
Everyone, please join me in giving them a standing round of ovation.
Thank you.
Good job. Amazing as always.
That's all your job.
Crudy and Melinda, on behalf of CABE and CAPSS and the Board of Directors, we thank you for being so insightful. But more importantly, you definitely prove that you should be on the Friday agenda rather than the Saturday agenda. You have made the point for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you. Thank you.
Ladies were so wonderful. If you want to grab these are yours.
Oh, there's one at our table too.
Okay.
All right, if we could take our seats for a minute, please. I did have the opportunity to ask Melinda and Crudy what their post-secondary plans are. And Melinda has shared she has applied to Columbia. And Crudy will be attending University of Pennsylvania with a degree in finance and marketing. But I would just share with Crudy, yes, unbelievable. I would share with Crudy, much like Dr. Knapp, our morning speaker, it's never too late to change your mind. Google or go on State Department of Ed website and just type in aspiring educators. We could certainly use you in the classroom, in our schools. Gives me great pleasure at this time to recognize and commend board members for their 10 and 20 years and more of service in public education in Connecticut, as well as our superintendents with 10 years or more of service, the names of which can be found in your program. But I'd like to ask all superintendents, all board members with 10 or more years of service to please stand and be recognized. If you could please stand. And if we could ask those with 20 or more years to remain standing. Let's give a big round of applause for all of them. On behalf of Liz and I'd like to acknowledge the staff at CABE and CAPSS and the people behind the scenes who make everything happen throughout the year, not just days like today. And I'd like to ask the staff of both organizations in the room to stand to be recognized. Again, if you could be sure to visit our exhibit hall in the Mystic Ballroom, stop by, say hello to our vendors as well as our nonprofit exhibitors on the side of the conference room 5 on your way to the lobby. We're all invited to the afternoon reception to begin immediately following this event, sponsored by Pullman and Comley, as well as which starts at 5:15 p.m. in the Mystic Ballroom. I'd ask those, especially in the back of the room, as we clear out for dessert out in the lobby, if you could exit your way out so they can begin clearing those tables immediately. We need to use that space for some of our afternoon workshops. Enjoy your afternoon, everybody. Thank you.